My boyfriend threatened to break up over Miss Dior and now won't talk to me because I laughed. Hi guys, my boyfriend, 24 male, and me, 22 female, have been together for almost 2 years now. Aside from some small bumps in the road, we've been in a very good place throughout the whole relationship. However, last night, things escalated over, in my opinion, something super dumb. But he thinks differently of that, and now stopped talking to me. It started when we were on the bed, he was gaming and I was on my laptop looking to order a new perfume. Since I stopped my job to focus on studying, I don't have as much income, so I decided to not get the expensive perfume that I usually go for, Miss Dior. I thought that it would be better to find a body spray with a resembling scent. As he was looking over my shoulder, he asked me what I was doing, so I explained. He then reacted, saying that I wore Miss Dior in our first period of dating and that it's my smell, and how it was one of the things that attracted him to me. I must admit that this made me a bit annoyed because I'd rather get that perfume too, but it's just not responsible to do so right now. He started rambling on how I care more about saving money than I care about him. I said that's not true, but he then kept saying his hypersensitivity issues can't deal with adjusting to a new scent. I said I'd find a scent similar to my old one, but he wasn't content. At this point, he said he'd have to break up with me if I would go for another scent. I found this hilarious and thought that he surely must be joking, so I laughed, which made him go silent. I let him be because I was really annoyed and we went to sleep. Now he left early morning and doesn't respond to my texts or calls. I have no idea what to do and I'm starting to doubt how I handled the situation. Did I fail him by not taking his hypersensitivity into account? In the comments, MC Susie says, I'm concerned that you're even asking this question. This boyfriend of yours tried to assert that you must stick with the Dior perfume and never once offered to buy it? What's wrong with him? In any case, his reaction to your perfume choice is very strange. What are you asking us? If you did something wrong? Shelby the Turd says, lol, threatening to end the relationship because you don't stick to the brand of perfume that he likes. Say that aloud. He is holding the relationship hostage because you didn't smell a certain way. He started rambling on how I care more about saving money than I care about him. Did he offer to buy it for you? This is some of the dumbest shit that I've ever heard. Sorry. Of course, if you're in saving money mode, you're gonna pull back on admittedly frivolous purchases. And any regular partner with their head on straight would be glad they had a frugal partner when circumstances demand. He wants you to overspend in order to satisfy his pants feelings. I feel like these people have hit the nail on the head with this one, and I think you're in a lose-lose situation with this guy, with this point that he's driving home, because, say you do overspend to satisfy his feelings. What's stopping him from saying the reason that you're so broke is that you spend it on stupid shit like this? Because there's definitely partners that can and will throw it back in your face, even though they're the ones that pushed for it. I would hope that he's not that guy. I will give him the benefit of the doubt that he is not that guy, but I think it is better to be safe than sorry and not give him a reason to be a piece of shit towards you. You're not wrong for not buying that perfume. And now onto the update 5 days later. Wow. First of all, thanks everyone who gave me advice and some tough love. I didn't expect so many of you to help me and definitely teared up at some of your replies. After I posted this, I was a bit of a mess, but after hours of ignoring me, he texted me late in the evening and asked me to meet up because he doesn't want us to be in a bad place. I really wanted to talk to him, at least to clear things up, so I went to his place. When I got there, he acted a bit disappointed still, but he did say that he didn't want us to fight. I felt the same, but also took your advice to heart, the idea of letting him buy a bottle. However, for some context, I do think he might be on the spectrum. No diagnosis, but his dad is too, and it would make sense. So I did want to show him that I care and take his hypersensitivity seriously. Therefore, I decided to suggest that we pay half-half for a new Miss Dior, and then until that one would be finished, I'll make sure to do research to find a really good dupe. He was not as convinced, told me that it wasn't my birthday anytime soon. I explained that I understood, but we'd have to both compromise. Well, to quote his literal words, "If you're such a feminist, you should be so financially too." This got me fuming. I had no words, so this time I left. As per your advice in the replies, I did some thinking about the rest of our relationship. I realized other things in our relationship that at the time didn't sit quite right with me were situations of him being controlling and self-concerned. Situations that I always considered as little things that he would mean differently or would learn from, but I was wrong, you were right. I asked him to meet up today, and I dumped his ass. I feel terrible right now, but I know that I'm better off. So, advice for a cheap, nice body spray? In the comments, someone says that was a difficult decision, but the right one. I don't know where you live, but in the UK and Ireland, Aldi does a great Miss Dior dupe on occasion. It's called Perfect Pink. And OP replies, "We do have an Aldi here, so I'm going to check it out. Thank you." Another commenter says, "Good for you. He sounded unreasonable. I would have said that he should pay the difference between the perfume that you would have bought and the perfume that he wanted you to buy, but his comments are so out of line, it's not even worth thinking about anymore." And OP says, "I didn't even think about this. It would have been a good reaction, but since he thinks that I have to pay everything because I'm a feminist, I don't think he would have been okay with that either." Another commenter says, "I'm so tired of people weaponizing feminism. Good riddance." And OP says, I always found it very hard to be mad at him for long, but when he said this, I felt like he showed his true colors, and I was so done." Another commenter asks, "What did he say when you broke up with him?" And OP says, "He mumbled something along the lines of, 'Good, I deserve better.' But after that, he did text me to say sorry and asked if we could talk again, so he's not very consistent." And a final commenter says, "Good on you for throwing him out, OP. I'm glad you also got recommendations for a dupe perfume. Although maybe a change of fragrance may not be a bad idea so you don't associate it with him." And OP replies, "Thank you a lot. I was thinking the same thing. I feel like it's a good time to reinvent myself, starting off with a new signature scent." And I think that's a great idea too, OP. You can definitely go find better, cheaper signature scents that don't have the smell of that controlling asshole on it. And at least you have a story for your next relationship. The guy that you had to break up about because he got pissed off about perfume. What a lovely lad that one is. I'm sure he'll have his own story too about the breakup being like, she was so crazy. She ended the relationship because I liked her perfume. What a crazy woman she was. Or like, she was trying to force me to buy expensive perfume to satisfy her cravings and wouldn't take no for an answer. I genuinely wouldn't put it past him at this point. Like when he said that if you're such a feminist, you should be so financially too. Ick. What's going on with that? I'm trying to have a normal conversation and relationship with you here, and you're arguing at me like we're talking on Twitter or something. You, ex-boyfriend, are not being such a charitable man right now, that's for sure. Anyway, thanks for the story, OP. Very much appreciated. And I hope that everything continues to get better in the future. Our next post is by user ThrowRA-Jade94, and it's titled, "My 30 female, student 18 male, made a super creepy comment. My husband, 35 male, thinks I'm being paranoid. I'm a high school English teacher and have been for a few years. In that time, as a woman, I've been used to teenage boys behaving awkwardly around me sometimes, and pheromones are a part of the deal. There have been occasional comments, but generally in the vein of Miss So-and-so has a crush on you, or Miss, would you be so-and-so's Valentine? It's all in good humor, in front of the whole class or a large group, and is well-meaning. My school throws a January ball for seniors 16 to 18, which is basically an opportunity to celebrate the start of another calendar year. As it's after hours, not every teacher has to attend, and this year, I was asked to chaperone. There is no alcohol permitted, but obviously some of them sneak in hip flasks and so on. During this month's ball, 2 students were huddled at a table in the corner of the hall, not dancing, just keeping to themselves. I know them well as problematic students who have difficulties socially, but also perform poorly academically. So they don't fit in with the popular crowd or the nerdy lot. We have some of these every year. Poor hygiene, greasy hair, long fingernails, that sort of thing. Immediately, I could tell they had been drinking from the way that they spoke and smelled, and asked them to hand over any alcohol that they had. One of the boys, I'll call him Stuart, started protesting. He said the following, and I'm 100% sure this is what he actually said. "Come on, miss. Don't pretend you won't open that bottle of Baileys when you get home. Feet up in your dressing gown watching the new TV. Give us a break." Now, as soon as he said this, I felt my heart drop into my stomach and got cold all over. I had just bought a bottle of Bailey's Irish Cream for myself the weekend before the dance. I am in the habit, on nights where I don't have much making or planning and want to treat myself, of having a bath and watching a movie or series in my dressing gown. My husband also bought a new television over Christmas. I asked him how he knew those things, and he feigned ignorance, basically saying that it was a lucky guess. I was so shaken that I left them, and a short while later, they both left. But that night, I could barely sleep, and my paranoia kept growing. I simply cannot believe that he could have guessed all 3 of those things. One, maybe, but no way all 3. My husband is away for work currently. I phoned him and told him about it, and he basically downplayed my concerns, saying that I probably mentioned those things to my class at various points, and this student has just remembered it. But I would never mention those things. I just wouldn't, and I'm sure that I haven't. I've become more skittish at home when I hear noises. I only live in a small house, but when I arrive home from buying groceries, I check every single room and cupboard before I lock the doors. I've also arranged to have the locks changed. When cars stop outside the house, I turn all the lights off and peek at them through the blinds. I'm having trouble sleeping. In class, this student is quiet and the same as ever, not completing homework assignments and distracted in class. My husband is growing increasingly exasperated and worried more for my mental health than the possibility this student could somehow know every detail of my personal life. I mentioned it to my supervisor as well, and she also basically reasoned that I had either misheard what he said, it was a coincidence, or a combination of the two. What's the play here? I'm seriously freaked out and don't even know how to begin putting this to rest. In the comments, Retsuko says, "My thing is, why would he say new TV? I could believe if he said drinking some wine, watching TV in your dressing gown, but being extremely specific about your drink of choice and new TV is a little scary. Wine is the trope, TV is what you think people do, and dressing gown is cozy, but those extra added details make it not a coincidence." OP says, exactly. If it was just, you're going to have some Baileys, or even, you'll have some Baileys in front of your TV, like, okay. But those comments plus the new TV? Retsuko replies, "Get some cameras and try not to be left alone with the students. You actually can't ever, just to be safe." She should also change Wi-Fi passwords and get someone who knows networking to check if they've missed an obvious security step. Particularly cameras with infrared vision, and then check those recordings for infrared light not coming from your own cameras. Especially if you say they were drinking, and maybe tipsy at that point, it seems more likely to me that he was being honest and saying this when he normally may not let it slip so he can continue stalking. Assume he is indeed actively stalking. With the switch up after the ball, where he went back to his normal self, it feels suspicious. Get the cameras and tell your husband that even if the story seems illogical to him, your fear is very much real, and that's where the focus should be. This will help you be at peace, or at least have proof of what could be going on. The gut feeling is not something to dismiss in my opinion. I hope you're able to get some quality sleep and stay safe, OP. Do you use social media that the kids could be stalking you on? Do you know every follower and friend on all platforms? These types tend to be chronically online. I don't know why more people aren't suspecting this instead of jumping to stalking allegations. So much more likely this kid saw something on social media, knows someone who did, or overheard a staff room and schoolgates comment like, "Can't wait to get home, put my dressing gown on and pour myself a Baileys," etc. I know. Like, people are literally telling her to move house without even considering the fact that they might have just overheard a comment or read something on social media. Rumors circulate really quickly in school. Even dumb, boring ones like Miss X just said that she can't wait to have a Bailey in the dressing gown and enjoy the new TV. Kids are weird, let me tell ya. They would find that hilarious and it would spread amongst them. It might even turn into a recurrent joke that you only discover the meaning of 6 months later. Many of them don't really have boundaries, especially one of them with SEN. They just repeat things they hear from others and don't think about how that will be interpreted. Like if you break a bone, you can be guaranteed the whole school will know before you even set foot in the classroom. As a teacher, the first thing you should be taught is that kids are listening to absolutely every word you say, and then they talk about it amongst themselves. OP should be considering this if she's actually a real teacher. I completely get where they're coming from, but again, like OP's saying, the specific drink, the fact the TV is new, and her state of dress, there's no way. She would remember saying these things, and to me, it's not a coincidence. It's more than just him overhearing something. If we were in a courtroom right now and we're doing it on the balance of probabilities, if I'm on the jury, I'm saying balance of probabilities is that he's stalking her. There's no way that it's not that. Unless he can produce some evidence otherwise, I believe OP and I trust OP that this guy is more likely stalking her and that OP should be doing her due diligence to make sure that she can prove that and bring some repercussions against him. But let's be real. It's Reddit. It's Reddit. The real story is going to be that OP's husband is having an affair with the kid's mom, and that's how the kid found out about what's going on in OP's home. OP's husband is definitely cheating. He's the problem here, guys. Let's think about it logically for a second. And now, onto the update, 5 days later. So I wasn't expecting this post to receive so much attention. I'm really grateful to so many people who have validated my concerns and helped me to develop a plan of action. I got home a little while ago and am going out shortly with a friend to try to rule out Bluetooth and Wi-Fi devices with my neighbors. After that, the two of us will try and conduct a meticulous search of the house for any concealed devices, using the lights out phone camera trick that some people recommended and some other tips that I've found online. Just to clarify a couple of points that I've seen raised a few times, the dressing gown is a really common term here in England for what Americans might call a robe. It's absolutely common parlance. Here, most people I know would associate a robe with something a wizard might wear. In terms of it being a lucky guess, if he had just said relax with a glass of wine, I might have assumed so. But the dressing gown comment, plus the Baileys comment when I had just bought a bottle, and the explicit mention of a new television which I'm 100% certain I did not misinterpret, these things make it so much harder to write off as a coincidence. And as far as social media goes, I have Instagram, which is set to private under my maiden name, and my profile picture is not of me. I am not in the habit of connecting with former students. I only have 3 who have all gone on to study English at university and have used me as references. I also have a Snapchat, which I only use with my husband and very close friends. I have posted nothing about my new television, and I also don't think that I've mentioned this to colleagues, let alone students. Certainly, I said nothing about the Baileys that I just bought. In the comments, MochaJava23 says, "Is it possible that you or your husband were observed buying the new TV and the Baileys? The students' parents could have just seen either purchase and said, oh, OP just got a new LG 65-inch. I agree that you should do a sweep for cameras or ask a tech-ish friend for help, but that would necessitate figuring out how the cameras got there, which opens up a larger conspiracy theory." And OP asks, "How can I do a sweep for cameras? Genuinely want to know." And MochaJava replies, "Well, I'm in IT, but not that area. If there was a camera, logically it would have to be transmitting, so probably use a Wi-Fi connection. I've read that skimmers and gas station credit card payment units can send data through Wi-Fi, so the bad actor doesn't have to retrieve it. That Wi-Fi should show up on your phone if you look at various Wi-Fi offerings on your phone. You'd have to take into consideration closeness of neighbors' houses and their routers, so it's a guess. How a camera got there is another puzzle. Occam's razor says to look at the easier likelihood. So can someone be looking into your window as you sip Baileys in a nightgown and also noticed your recycling bin with a discarded LG TV box recently? Faux pas says, I'm not a huge techie, but I've been around the block a few times. Your husband is being naive, and while I appreciate people trying to encourage you that surveillance is happening via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and of course investigate those avenues, please also take seriously the idea that you are being stalked. Even stalked for fun with no malicious intent. I mentioned in a separate comment the idea of a dog. There are also many DIY ways of alarming or otherwise reinforcing your house that don't involve tech if you look on YouTube, for example. Hoping you stay safe. And now, onto the latest updates. I wasn't going to post an update here, but the number of worried people who have reached out to me made me reconsider. After a thorough search of my house, I found 2 devices. They seem to be camera devices, and I don't know if audio is included. One of them was in the smoke detector in my bedroom, while the other was concealed in the wall of my living room. Looking at an old picture of my bedroom, it looks like the smoke detector itself has changed very slightly. I think that the new one is a device in itself, which the culprit somehow switched with the old one without us noticing. The matter has now been referred to the police. If it wasn't for so many of you taking me seriously and giving me practical advice, I wouldn't have had the courage to check, especially given my husband downplaying the concerns. He has been very apologetic and is coming back from his work trip early, but I've asked to spend some time apart and will be staying with my parents for a while. I'm glad I raised the issue with the head at my school and a couple of others, as there's a paper trail, which was another suggestion from the thread. Needless to say, I'm completely shaken to my core, and I have the most revolting feeling of my privacy being invaded. I have no idea how many people have been involved in this, but phones have been taken from students, and we should have more answers soon. I won't be making any more posts or updates. Thank you again to everyone for affirming me and making me feel sane. In the comments, Istara says, "This is nightmare fuel. Either strangers have had access to her house, or someone she knows and trusts is involved. If it's the latter, my money's on the husband who downplayed her concerns and is now rushing back from his work trip." Well, that's what I didn't want to state, but it crossed my mind. I really hope not, because that level of betrayal from an intimate partner would be life-scarring. It's not like whole communities can't get involved in objectifying women, or even go as far as actively assaulting them. It's not like the husband can't be actively involved. Yes, one thinks of that poor woman in France. How did that kid gain access to her house to plant the cameras? That is the question. And one camera was in the wall of the living room? That doesn't sound quick to do, especially to conceal it well. My bet, like many others, is that the husband put the cameras there and the students hacked the feed. I doubt the students hacked the camera. If the husband is involved, the most likely explanation is that he's been uploading the videos to the dark web and the students came across it and recognized her. There are websites for hidden camera videos. Yeah, it's always really frustrating when spouses or anyone else close to you tries to downplay, genuinely scary situations like these. Why didn't he just offer support from the get-go? If he is not involved, that just makes it so sus that he would downplay it from the start. And if he's genuinely not involved in this, which I believe he is involved, how would he have not recognized how threatening this situation is? Does he not take things as seriously as OP does? It doesn't make any sense. Him just from the get-go being like, not likely actually, you should ignore your gut feeling. I don't know. When it comes to serious shit like this, which obviously never really comes up all that often, but when it comes to things like this, and that is their response, should you continue staying with someone that is only going to downplay your concerns and not take you seriously? Even if it turns out that you were being irrational and you were overhyping things and, maybe you were overreacting. I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me. Because if I was overreacting and the threat was that serious, I would want my partner to help me in every way they can. I feel like OP has been failed by so many people in this situation, and thank God she took the advice given to her and was proven correct in her gut feeling. Thank you for the story, OP. I understand there's going to be no more updates. Thank you for what you have shared. It is a cautionary tale that many can learn from. All the best going forward. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.